Hello and welcome to race 4 of season 11 of the All Assists Off League, as it's the turn of the sandy desert-like conditions of Sakir in Bahrain, who plays host to the All Assists Off League, to see if No Danger David can continue his fine form and hold top spot of the Drivers' Championship. We've got an 18-minute qualifying session followed by a 50% race for you this evening. Joining me to go through and bring all the action, he's on his way back from the holiday. Skin, how are you? How was your holiday?
Hiya, Yara. All good, thank you. You sounded lovely without me, mate. And I've seen rumours on the Discord that they're going to potentially release me from my contract because of how good and strong you were without me last week, mate. But other than that, it's all good. I'm just making sure that I bring May a game tonight to make sure I've still got a job ready for the next race. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. I certainly hope you do keep the job, because I'm away on the 24th, and or just before the 24th, and we need somebody to hold down the fort during that time. In your absence, there was a nice little 1-2 from your beloved Red Bull. D. Perez got on the top step of the podium. He was joined shortly after by No Danger David, so a nice little treat for you in your absence.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I saw the clip of the final stretch of the race, mate. Your commentary was quite inspiring. It's one of them moments where people on YouTube have put Celine Dion, in the background of it, mate. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and well done to the lads.
I'll certainly take that sort of reference and that sort of background music. So I'm on board at the moment with Peter Caspi, who is in the Ferrari, and he's the first driver that was out on track, which means he's likely to be the first one that sets a timed lap. Last week we had the nice little rainy conditions towards the back end of the race in Miami. It's extremely unlikely that is not going to happen, that's going to happen in Bahrain, because I don't think it's rained there since long before I was even born. So I'll let you do the math yourself.
I think was the last time it rained, mate. So
you see, I was born in 63, yeah. See, that's the difference. Yes, we've got the return as well of last week, the championship leader of AMS Johnsy. He was absent last week, which allowed the Red Bulls to capitalise on their opportunity and take first and second place. But he does return, and it saw Sandman fall down into, I believe it finished in 5th place. He was last week in the Ferrari, but he's got his teammate of Peter Caspi back alongside him, so that'll be interesting to see. And the Haas that has dropped out of top place as well, opening the door for a couple of Red Bulls. So they said it's all about the Constructors' Championship this year. They're currently leading with the drivers and the Constructors. Is that a case of, maybe it is just about the Constructors this year, or is it a case of that's mind games from Danger David at its finest?
Maybe so, mate. Putting himself under the radar as other drivers trying to attack the Drivers' Championship. But if they're focusing on winning the Constructors, locking up that front row is certainly the way to do it. So fair play.
We've got a new attendee as well in Veriduco, who's racing in the Alfa Romeo, so that'll be good to see just how he gets on as well. The last time we had a newbie joining the grid, it was, of course, AMS Johnsy, and as they say, the rest is history. So in the Alpine, we do have Racing Wheel teaming up alongside, this is the bit that I really struggle with, is with F1 Martin Hunt, who makes a return after a couple of weeks out. Purple in Sector 2 goes Peter Caspi. My assumption is he will finish this lap, and he'll take the provisional pole, but he'll also be the first one to set a time. So it'll be a real one that's really giving us an idea of what sort of times we are going to be expecting. Everybody out on soft tyres at the moment. It just goes round onto the pit straight. DRS opens up. Nice and early DRS here in Bahrain as well, so you get a good distance under the assistance of the drag reduction system. Gives you an extra 10 miles per hour down that straight as well, and he sets a 133.4, which moments later is beaten by that of Danger David on 129.8. That is a phenomenal time, isn't it?
Yes, mate. Sorry, I'm eating a wafer. Yeah,
you should have told me. You should have told me. Oh, it's professional as ever.
When you start, you don't stop for about 3 minutes. I thought I've got plenty of time for a wafer here, and then 3 seconds later, you decided to ask me a question. But just on board with AMS Johnsy, the man that's led all the races in which he's raced in, and he's took pole by 6/10 of a second quicker than Danger David, as Sandman takes second, but still 2/10 quicker as it stands for that pole position. What a lap there.
Well, I've said our 129.8 is a phenomenal time. He's 4/10 off Sandman, who takes second place, and he's 6/10 off AMS Johnsy, who has set the time to beat at 129.256. I'm now going to join on board with Racing Wheel in the Alpine. He's out there setting a time at the moment. His teammate has already set a time. He's currently down in 16th place at the moment. His teammate Martin Hunt is in 9th place on a 1:31.2. He crosses the line to 1:35.6. That's going to be good enough to keep him at the back of the grid as it stands, 17th place. We've got Maverick now out on an outlap, and D. Perez, who is just finishing off his trial through Sector 2, heads into the penultimate straight here in Bahrain, one of the longest straights to not have a DRS zone as well. Quite surprising to some people, myself included. He goes round onto the pit straight. Again, nice early DRS opening for him. Could give him a chance to assist his teammate as close to the front part of the grid as possible. He's going to cross the line with a 1:32.7, so that leaves him in 14th place at the moment, so not what he'd be happy to have seen as we join on board with Maverick, the only guy out there at the moment that hasn't set a time, as we see Frankie 1811 and his teammate Trugs to head back into the pitch, joined by Danger David and Peter Caspi. So we've still got quite a bit of time left, 12 minutes just under in this qualifying session, so plenty of time for the cars to go back, prepare themselves for another lap under the soft tyres. We do have a yellow flag going into the pit straight, still plenty of distance between them and Maverick, so they're able to go into the pits and it not affect the driver. We do have one staying out though, and I believe that's an attempt to try and set a quicker time. I want to say it is the Alfa Romeo of Veriduco that is out there at the moment, just finishing off on the first corner, as you may be able to see on the bottom right of the screen. With a nice little view of what's going on in and around the track. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us the names and numbers. We're just going to guess based upon the teams. And considering his teammate is in the pits, I'm going to put a lot of money on the fact that it is Veriduco. As going round onto the pit straight now is Maverick, with a time to beat of 1:29.2. Next week, of course, there's a full qualifying session taking place in Singapore, so that'll be nice entertainment from start to finish, as the time that Maverick sets is a 1:33.7, so that keeps him in 19th place as it stands at the moment. So after everybody's done one lap at the very least, we've got AMS Johnsy out there on 1:29.2 on provisional pole, VSM Sandman in the Ferrari in second place, Danger David in third, the Mercedes of Quincy and RS 0121 in fourth and fifth place respectively, Ivor then in sixth place, Frankie 1811 in seventh, Trugster in eighth, D. Perez moves himself up into ninth place on his second lap, F1 Martin Hunt in the Alpine, it takes 10th place. After 3 laps, the Nocebo in the McLaren can only go as high as 11th at the moment. Toxic CZ10 is in 12th place as he heads back into the pits. Quan 23 and his teammate Formula 1 Farah are in 13th and 14th place. Veriduco in the Alfa Romeo in 15th place. Suribo in 16th, Peter Caspi in the Ferrari in 17th, Racing Wheel in 18th, and Maverick down in 19th place. So any real surprises from you there, Skin? Hopefully you've finished eating now after everyone's done at least a lap.
No, I am done eating, mate. I'd probably say D. Perez sat down in 9th at the moment after last week's second place finish. It is a surprise. Bottom of the bottom third doesn't look too different from what it normally would. Really good to see Quincy and RS of the Mercedes up there in 4th and 5th as it stands, in and amongst sort of your top 4 of the league, that I'd say in Johnsy, Sandman, David and Ivor. So yeah, really good to see them in there, especially after Quincy's driver of the day performance back in Abu Dhabi, I think it was, in the last race that I was in. So I can't remember if it was Abu Dhabi now, I can't remember for the life of me, but yeah, really good to see them up there. But other than that, I think for the most part it does seem to be business as usual as we are now under 10 minutes left of the qualifying session.
There we go, as a couple of cars are back out to try and set new times. We've got Sandman on an outlap, Quincy RS0121, Ivor 32, Frankie 1811, Trugster all out on outlaps, Martin Hunt, Formula 1 Farah also out on outlaps. I'm going to stay on board with Sandman as he's in second place at the moment, trying to regain his former glory from the last couple of seasons. Of course, 3-time winner, the current defending champion, winning 3 consecutive seasons in a row, has got a lot to live up to at the moment after the pace being set in the first couple of races by AMS Johnsy, of course, winning 2 of the 3 races so far, winning every race in this league that he's actually appeared in, just to make it clear as well. I don't want to disrespect him too much. He wasn't in the last race, and that's where it went to the 2 Red Bulls. So consistency is key, as it's proven so far, as Sandman is in second place with a 1:29.2 the time to beat as Johnsy jumps out onto an outlap at the moment. The track is getting pretty full, which means hopefully we'll see numerous cars improving their times and moving further up the track. I think a 1:29.2 is a very strong time to be setting. I know naturally Johnsy's got that, but I think that's a good 3 or 4 seconds quicker than what I've ever done around the track of Bahrain as well, so credit to him there. because he's doing it all without assists on as we go round onto the next corner, which is very well taken from Sandman. The slightest of touches on the chicane going around that corner, and you can see your car tumbling and spinning in towards the wall. So he's taken that very nicely, as have most of the drivers so far this evening that we've seen. As he goes round onto the pit straight, again, the DRS zone very close to him, but instead of using it, it looks like he's headed in towards the pit, so didn't like what he'd seen on that lap, didn't like what he'd felt on that lap, and maybe looking to change a couple of things. So we'll move away from Sandman and look at a couple of other cars that are out there at the moment. We've got a couple that are going to be crossing the line. We are on board with Peter Caspi now as he heads in towards the final stages of Sector 1, looks towards the second DRS zone on the lap. One of the very few tracks on a Formula 1 calendar that does have 3 DRS zones, and we are blessed to see that, of course, as well. He's currently down in 17th place in his Ferrari. Will need to, of course, jump a lot higher to be able to assist VSM Sandman, who's in second place. The Ferraris have a lot of expectation as the defending Constructors champion as well. And Haas, of course, with AMS Johnzy and his teammate down in 18th place. So considering that they're the three front runners, of course, this season, Haas, Ferrari, Red Bull. The fact that Red Bull are the only two that really have some, well, one, of course, in third place and one 11th just outside of the points, you'd say that advantage is certainly with them at the moment, wouldn't you?
Yeah, why wouldn't it be? Again, going back to the constructors that you mentioned, it does seem that as I mentioned earlier, the usual suspects at the top, but it only seems to be Red Bull on a consistent basis that have both of their drivers in a good points position. You know, you look at, again, I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but you look at Haas at the minute. Yes, Johnsy's got pole position as it stands, but you've got Sir Ribbo second to last in 18th. You've got Sandman in second, but his teammate's down in 17th. Danger David in third place. His teammate is down in 11th, but we know D. Perez is capable of much more with that second place. Mercedes seem to be relatively consistent. They're currently sitting 4th and 5th, but again, that is a slight improvement on where they have been recently. So, yeah, in terms of constructors, you do have to look at Red Bull as the favourites because, again, consistently, they seem to have both drivers in a points position. But just a question for you, because you've spoken there about Johnsy's dominance, and the only race that hasn't been won by him this season is the one that he wasn't in last week. Just now, as he approaches the final corner, I'll just walk you through this before I get stuck into the question. 1:22 going round onto the final straight. 29.2 is his fastest lap, 2/10 quicker than Sandman, and he's cut that down by a further 2/10, 2.5 in fact. So what a what a gap that Sandman and Danger David even more so have got to find if they want pole position going into the race. But yeah, you mentioned about Johnsy's dominance in the only race that he hasn't won this season being the one race that he wasn't in, which was last week. For someone like Sandman, who, as I mentioned, have dominated, he's won 3 in a row in this league, what do you think it does for his mindset to have someone come in and instantly dominate a league that for quite a while now he's been the front runner in?
I think it'll be great for him, really. I mean, it's always, you say, competition or lack of competition makes performances go stale, don't they? So when Sandman's just dominating season after season, and granted, Danger David took it to the final race of the season, but even then I think he needed to win with fastest lap and Sandman not finish the race, didn't he, to be able to win the championship. So I think it'll do wonders for him. I think he'll have to reach another gear, so to speak, no pun intended, and he'll be able to push on and you know, try and get back to that former glory. It'll help him reach new heights and new strengths that he maybe didn't know he had, but it means his focus will need to be maintained for even longer, I guess. So hopefully we'll get to see some very good racing from the front three. In saying that, RS0121, he's not too far behind Danger David, so a good start for the Mercedes could prove pivotal. So we'll see just what happens there, as I'm just watching D. Perez take a spin at the end of turn 1, having just moved himself up into 8th place. He's struggling to get too much grip that he's able to really compete with the top 5 at the moment on his times, and he'll be disappointed in that after a first place finish last week. He'll want to build on that. You might want to
get on board with Sandman, because going into sector 3 he is going just under 4/10 quicker than his previous fastest lap. So if we can keep that up, he is within a great shot. If he can find a bit more time in sector 3, he could take provisional pole, and he has got so close. He has gone down to a 10th slower than Johnzy. I'm not sure where he could have found that in that lap, but a fantastic lap by Sandman, which in most cases would have given him provisional pole, but still not to be.
Yeah, he's moved over to the side now to allow his teammate by. So it looks like maybe that's his lap. He might try and, just ease off a little bit. Might have put enough fuel in to maybe get himself an extra time lap instead of him having to come in. You'd think that maybe there's not enough time now for him to come in, change tyres, get back out and set another time. So
not with around 2.5 minutes left. No, surely not.
There you go then. So, I mean, Johns has gone back into the pits. Danger David hasn't come back out. I mean, do you think maybe he's cutting his losses there? 7/10 off of Sandman, 8/10 off of Johnsy. Is some distance behind. It's all about strategy at the moment, isn't it, between these? And you'd think that if it's going to be a two driver strategy, you've got to think that Perez is going to have to help Danger David there just to slow down the front runners of Johnsy and Sandman to help the Red Bulls get anywhere. Because the pace that those two are setting at the moment puts them head and shoulders above the rest of the grid. 1:29.0 and 1:29.1 is incredible from both of them, and just seeing that Johns is coming back out onto track as well. So I'm going to stay on board with Sandman just to see if he does continue onto the pit straight or if he decides to head in towards the pits, and we'll know just then.
While you do that, I'm assuming with him going slow, he's going to do that unless he's run out of fuel. But D. Perez was running very slow on that lap, so decided to pit. So with the time that's left, likely to be starting in 8th place unless someone below him can overtake him as Sandman decides to pit.
He does, which means now Danger David is on his way out. Danger David is heading around the track, heading into Sector 3 as we speak at the moment. Quite a short Sector 2, quite a long Sector 3 in Bahrain. So we'll stay on board with Danger David. I don't know if you're going to stay on board with him or move over to Johnsy, who's going to try and, of course, increase his own time.
I'll stick on board with Danger David for now, mate, seeing as he's about to start his lap and he's the one chasing.
Well, we do still have quite a busy track and we are reaching the last minute of this qualifying session, so it would be interesting to see just which way this is going to go. Is it going to be Johnsy that remains on pole position? Is it going to be Danger David? Or is it going to be an outside shot to take pole position from any of the 4-3 mentioned? So we will see. We've got last laps for most drivers now, as it looks like there's a driver just coming out of the pits, I think, at the moment as well. I was just looking at who that is. But it's not. It is D. Perez. So D. Perez couldn't be very fine to get out of the pits. I don't think he's going to have time. I think that's his chance missed, to be fair. I think he's going to get round there. Yeah, he's just taking the first corner with half a minute left. Not going to be good enough for him as Danger David knocks 3/10 off of his first sector time. So going through Sector 2 at the moment, taking these corners confidently. Quietly, confidently has been Danger David so far this season. The current championship leader going round onto one of the most difficult corners to take, other than the little hairpin that you get in Monaco, and he's done that with ease. Opens up DRS in DRS Sector 2, drives past the McLaren as the yellow flag is waved, but that's only because the McLaren has moved aside to allow him to go past. As Danger David sits in third place, as Sandman is done with his time. Quincy, Trugster, D. Perez, Toxic, all done with their time. So, time is over. We've got the last 3 minutes now for everyone to finish their laps as Danger David sets purple in Sector 2. Could this be Danger David to take pole position away from AMS Johnsy whilst we wait to see if the Haas can take the time back? He heads round the final corner onto the pit straight. The DRS surely will open very early into this pit straight. So it has. Danger David with a 1:29.0 the time to beat. That's a 1:29.7. It holds him in third place, and it looks almost certain that Johnsy will continue 3 out of 3 in attendances for his pole positions on a 1:29.0. We've still got quite a few drivers on their way round at the moment. Maverick and Cerebro have also finished their laps. The Nosebo has headed in the McLaren into the pits. We're also done with Quincy Trugster. D. Perez, F1, Martin Hunt, Kwan is all done with their times as AMS Johnsy sets an unbelievable time of 1:28.7 to almost confirm that he will be on pole position for the Bahrain race, which will be on its way in just a few moments' time. We thought it was going to be close between the Haas and the Ferrari. We'll wait and see just what's going to happen in the race. But that, with the pressure of Red Bull and Ferrari breathing down the Haas neck, he hits a 1:28.7, an unbelievable time, Skin.
How else do you describe it as? I don't even know, mate. I'm lost for words. 1:28.7, mate. I can only dream of doing a lap that quick in Bahrain. So yeah, fair play to him. It's asserting dominance after that missed week. Got some points to catch up on for the Drivers' Championship. So if that's not a statement of intent of what he plans to achieve today, I don't know what is.
There we go. So AMS Johnsy on pole position as the final cars head into the pits now. That is Frankie 1811 and Ivor, who have just gone into the pits. We've got the final few cars, and then we will head towards, of course, a 50% race in Bahrain. That will be started with a formation lap, because if EA Games and F1 have taught us anything, it is that a formation lap is always worth the effort, isn't it?
Yeah, well, so far with this game coming out with formation laps, I don't know if you had any issues last week, but no doubt it'll be about 15 minutes between now and the start of the race, so hopefully we get a bit more luck this week.
There we go. So it is Johnsy from Sandman and then Nay Danger David taking up your top three. Nearly a second separates Johnsy from Danger David. So the top two in the Drivers' Championship may not get a chance to go toe-to-toe. But it all starts, of course, in just a few moments' time. Your prediction for the race, Skin?
Again, I said it last time, but I've absolutely no reason to change my mind on Johnsy winning the race, so why should I change it now? It seems like the most logical pick, but hopefully we're in for a good race with plenty of drama and plenty of things to talk about. What about you?
I think it's going to be a case of Johnsy, unless there's a strategy that Ferrari managed to absolutely nail there. I mean, I'd like to see Danger David and Perez, back up there as they have been in the Red Bulls. I'd like to see the Ferraris like a two-team race instead, or a three-team race, and battle for the championship instead of it dominated from one team. As you know, from my love of the actual F1 sport as opposed to the video game version of it, I absolutely hate it when it is all dominated by one person or one particular team. But yes, as a McLaren fan, I don't have to worry about my team being a part of any of that rubbish anyway. So, yes, we've got Danger David in third place, Sandman in second, Johnsy in first. What sort of strategy, tyre-wise, do you think these are going to go for? Red Bull are familiar in the past and quite often have gone for a split strategy. Do you think that's something that maybe the two will adapt again? They've said a lot in the Discord that these two drivers have raced for years alongside each other on online leagues. So there's that certain understanding that they already have of how they're going to approach these sort of races.
Yeah, like I said, they've been racing for years. They've put their focus on the constructors. I mentioned it myself during qualifying that they're the team that's most consistent with points finishes amongst both drivers. Why are they going to start changing it now? It's clearly working for them.
Exactly. So what sort of approach do you take heading into a Bahrain race? I know you say all the time, and we'll mention it every single week, that soft is the way forward because you can guarantee you're going to end up in a collision, and it's usually because you end up in a collision. So from a neutral perspective, you're in there at the moment, you're making the decision of what these drivers are going on to. What strategy are you choosing for them?
I think I start on mediums with this, and I try and stay out as long as possible before taking that pit. Get ahead of the grid. Try and build a gap, and then hope for a pit without any drama. Because what you don't want is to get caught in traffic. So, yeah, I'd start with mediums.
Well, here is the formation lap. Just to run through the tyre choices as well. So we've got AMS Johnsy on pole position on the medium. Second place is VSM Sandman on the hard tyres. Danger David and RS11.04 will make up the second row, both on medium tyres. Ivor separates the Mercedes, are joined with Frankie 1811. Evo's on hard, Frankie 1811 is on medium. Quincy, the other Mercedes, in 7th place on hard tyres. Trugster is on medium in 8th place. D. Perez has gone on hard tyres, the opposite to what his teammate Danger David has. So there you go, it explains the strategy that Red Bull have gone for again, of course, on hard tyres in 9th. Formula 1 Fire in 10th place on medium, so too is Toxic in 11th. And the Nosebo in the McLaren in 12th place. F1 Martin Hunt in 13th on hard tyres. Williams of Quan on medium tyres. Veriduco in the Alfa Romeo also on medium tyres. Peter Caspi in the Ferrari on medium tyres. Maverick is starting on soft, and he's the only one on the grid to start on soft tyres. Sir Ibo in medium tyres. Racing Wheel 027 in the Alpine in 19th place on hard tyres. And Skid Solo, who joins us right at the end of qualifying, just missed out on it, starts at the back of the grid in the Aston Martin on medium tyres. So we've got quite a mix there of medium and hard tyres, apart from Maverick on the soft. Would you say that's brave of Maverick to go for it? I mean, a 29-lap race?
Potentially, but when you're starting down in 17th, I suppose you've got to take a bit of a risk if you're wanting to finish in amongst the points, so why not?
Especially when your teammate's up in 12th place. common thing that's said in Formula One, isn't it? That the first race is always with your teammate, isn't it?
Yep, so they say, mate. And even when we've played the game in the past on two-player career, we've still ended up battling, and I've still made it a priority to wind you up and get in your head, even though you're my teammate. So yeah, you're absolutely right there.
I know that that's nothing to worry about anymore, though, because you've had more DNFs than you have classified finishes, so we don't have to worry about that in our career so far.
I
And
hate
just
this
to be
game, mate.
clear,
Hate it.
just to be clear, as we sit here doing commentary of an all assists off league, we certainly play the game with all assists on.
Every single last one of them, mate. To be fair, I think for the most part, I just hold the controller, and it still drives. So that's how many assists we have on.
You play yours
But,
on cruise control. Just for those that are joining us for the first time, all these DSQs, they're disqualified for how people have been lining up on the pit straight. Ignore it. It doesn't count. They'll be back in the race in just a moment's time. It's just because it's all manual that they're parking up onto the grid that it decides to disqualify them. But they'll be back in time for the race, which should start in just a few moments' time. We will wait for the lights to start the countdown for us. Or we will wait and nothing will happen, as per every Formula One game that has been released to begin with. So we'll wait and see. It might just be a case of everyone's got to jump out the lobby. We've been here before.
just when I was thinking, oh, is it fixed now? I'm starting to think that maybe no, it's not fixed now.
We've been here before. There's a very good chance we'll be here again. It doesn't look like it's having any part of it. So we'll have a look at the Discord, see if the plan is for everybody to jump out and start a new lobby, but it looks like everybody is set and ready to go, just waiting for the light controller to make a decision on this. And it looks like it has been glitched from Sandman, so Sandman has said he's been glitched out, starting on the front row for the race on hard tyres. They're very hoping to get maybe positioning on track with the hard tyres to last that longer distance before having to go in for those pits, do you think?
Sorry, mate. I'm just I got half an eye on the Discord, and it looks like they will be starting a new lobby. So I suppose we'll be back shortly.
Yep, everyone's jumping out.
Right, they are. So part of me is thinking, do I pause the broadcast or do I bring back the interesting facts of my co-commentator Adam Marsden?
Always the interesting facts.
Always the interesting facts, mate. Well, you go and get yourself a drink, mate. I'm already topped up, and I'm sure we'll be back shortly, won't we?
We will.
So, what can I tell you about old Aggie Marsden? He's a big Chesterfield FC fan. I know there's plenty of you that aren't in the UK, so Chesterfield FC, give him a Google. Got to get promoted this season. His favourite position is doggy style. I mean, right back. He likes to play right back because he was never good enough to be a centre back, like Gary Neville. So he got pushed out on the right. What else does he like? He likes his favourite scented candle is woodwork. So you know, like when you're at school and you smell like sawdust and shit. That's his favourite scented candle. His favourite drink is water with a teaspoon of salt in it, which is fucking weird, isn't it? What else could I tell you? Just 2 seconds. Hang on. What else can I tell you about the commentator maestro? His favourite chocolate bar is Chomp. I don't even know if you can still get them anymore, but they're his favourite. Oh, so Danger David has requested the story about his secret hot tub sessions after the stream. So yeah, what you may or may not know about Adam is he has a hot tub in his back garden. Built it himself out of wood, like a plastic sheet, and then obviously filled it with water. So basically, what he likes to do is fences in his back garden. He's built them just high enough where neighbours can't see, but it's easy enough for them to peek over. So what he likes to do is he likes to get in there naked, and he likes to just float in there with everything floating about, and he enjoys the risk of the neighbour potentially seeing him. So yeah, that's what he gets up to in the hot tub. Don't judge him based on that. What else does he like? I feel like I gave loads last time, so I'm running out of ideas. His death row meal would be Five Guys. His order from Five Guys is the cheeseburger with no toppings, including the cheese, so just a beef burger. But he never asks for a beef burger. He'll always ask for a cheeseburger without the cheese, because that's how he orders it. He also likes, his favourite supermarket is Tesco. Yeah, he loves going to Tesco because he's got a club card, so he says he likes to take advantage of the club card prices. There's other things that I could tell you that I won't, because this was a public stream and I don't know who might end up listening to it. So we'll save those for after 9 o'clock, after the watershed. What else can I tell you? His sporting hero is AP McCoy, the jockey, the legendary jockey in horse racing. Only because he met him once, and it was the only bloke that he's ever met that was shorter than him. So yeah, it made him feel good. So he's now his sporting hero. The reason I say that is Adam is 5'4" tall, which is the same height as Kevin Hart, who was well known for being quite small. So yeah, that's 5'4" Adam is, which may surprise some of you. I am actually, to put it in perspective, I'm 6'6", so as you can imagine, can be quite humorous when we stood next to each other. So yeah, but I've just received an invite to the race, which hopefully means we are about ready to go, even though I can't click on the invite because, as always and as usual, this game is rubbish and they need to sort it out. Final interesting fact of the day for Adam before he comes back in, hopefully, as the lobby starts to fill up and we can get the race underway. 29 laps in Bahrain. The final interesting fact of the day is that he helped his brother Gary Marsden to circumcise himself after an accident in their kitchen. So it's not my story to tell. So
mate, don't you dare! That's ridiculous.
If anyone wants to know more on the details around that story and how that came to be, feel free to drop him a message in the Discord asking what happened, and he will be more than happy to share.
Absolute load of rubbish.
How are you, Adam? Are you back now?
I am, yeah. I am. I wish I'd not gone, to be fair, and left you doing these sort of things. I said always that I did say it this time, but I regret saying it from the moment I said it. I should have just said we paused the broadcast, shouldn't I? Instead of this, gone to an ad break or something. We need sponsorship just to cover us for these formation laps. That's all it is. But it is what it is. Yeah, some of those answers that you gave were quite different to what they were 3 weeks ago. So I'm glad that things have changed in my life, that I now at least have the burger in my death row meal, whereas before it was a cheeseburger with no cheese and no burger, so just a bun. Yeah. So I've definitely improved on that.
Specifically order a cheeseburger, which is weird.
Yeah, it's just one of them things, isn't it? I'm going to play along to that one. Although I don't even order burgers, to be fair. I don't even order
Five
burgers.
Guys?
Anywhere.
Oh,
anyway, I don't order burgers. Just not for me, really, burgers. No, it's just...
I thought you liked burger. You like a burger because we gave you shit because you eat them with a knife and fork. And that fucker, that point, everybody, is a fact. That
Yes,
is all the facts that I've given you today, or all the facts I gave you last time. That is the one true fact that he eats a
it
burger with a
is.
knife and fork,
It is.
including the bun.
It is, yeah. And that all happened when I started eating the Big Man burger for the very first time. And we wonder why my blood pressure is higher than my points tally on a Formula One game. So, yeah, it's just one of the things, isn't it? It's like a quadruple burger, wasn't it? So you eat that and it just falls to pieces in your hand. So I had to eat it with a knife and fork just to make sure I didn't make
I've
a
seen
mess.
you
So
eat a normal burger with a knife and fork.
yeah, it was
So
force of
try
habit.
again.
So that's where it started. So it started with the Big Man and then it just escalated from there.
And you thought, oh, I enjoyed that.
I did, yeah. I don't mind eating it with a burger. Like, it don't bother me. It's you that it bothers, and if you got a problem with it, just don't sit me when I eat a burger.
Terrible, mate. Terrible.
Yes. I think actually at one of the Super Bowls, I ordered a burger and I had a knife and fork for it then, didn't I?
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking of when I
Mm.
said that you eat normal ones with a knife and fork.
It was during the first time that you guys all found out about that was during. I think my partner sent you a picture of me eating a burger with a knife and fork to the
Correct.
Among Us chat. Do you remember Among Us?
I do remember
The
that. Yeah,
global
I had a
phenomenon that
quick go
was
on that
Among Us.
yesterday
Did you?
on my phone. Yeah,
If you're not the imposter, it's not worth playing. No, I am not
correct.
one of those people that quits out when I'm the imposter. When I'm not the imposter, don't worry. I also despise them people, but yeah, is what it is. Right, so we are not too far away from going racing. It seems like what we've just tried to fill there was absolute nonsense. So welcome back if you are just joining us and if you switched off for the time in which Skin gave loads of interesting facts that turned out to be more fiction. So there we go. It looks like we are all set for when the drivers join no formation lap, so we're going straight into the race. I think the deal that they've gone with is the drivers start on the exact same tyres, but the benefit they have from this is it's fresh tyres effectively. So normally when you do qualifying followed by the race in these sort of lobbies, whatever happens in qualifying, the tyres that you use, they stay at that percentage for when you move on to the actual race. So it makes you think of the strategy a little bit more. You have to use different tyres, different approaches to the race. But when you get kicked out of the formation lap, it changes it completely and your tyres practically reset. So it's back to basics. So really, we're going into this race with everybody with fresh tyres. So it kind of evens the playing field up a little bit more and means the strategies that you've kind of gone through qualifying have been made redundant, haven't they?
Yeah, we spend all this time talking about strategies, and like you said, it goes out the window. So, in terms of the sort of grid, who do you think it benefits the most? This glitch. You mentioned it becoming a level playing field, but where on the grid do you think it sees the biggest impact from having to restart and everyone being on the same?
I think it's really the ones that have used the tyres the most in qualifying. I know that's going to sound like a stupid comment, but there's some there that did maybe 4 or 5 laps, and there's some that did maybe just 1 or 2. And I think the ones that have done 1 or 2 on them specific tyres, because they don't necessarily all change the tyres because they plan for the race and knowing that they might be able to use the soft tyres. Qualifying, regardless, in these lobbies is always done on soft tyres. It's just when they make the change during the race. So I think when you're looking at some of the mid of the pack, maybe. I think the person that it's really not going to favour is the one person that started on soft tyres in the last race. I wish I could tell you exactly who that was, but I have forgot. But there was one person that was going to start on the soft tyres, and I think that's the person that's really going to lose out on this because everyone else around them was on the hards and the mediums, and they'd really planned for this by sticking on those soft tyres that they'd used in qualifying. So they get fresh tyres now, but I think it's really not going to benefit them. I know that sounds weird to say, but I really think it's going to cost them a little bit of time in this race. They might have had an idea of just what they were going to do with those soft tyres to make that maybe questionable decision to remain on them in the race. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's not going to it's not really going to affect the top of the grid. I think because of the quality of play and the standard of play. But to be honest, I don't think it will. It matters too much. It's a high standard. I don't think the tyres are going to affect the overall race. To be fair.
Right. I'm looking, and it appears that there have been quite a few changes. So we might be into yet another lobby. We are. We're
Joking.
jumping out of this lobby. The reason for that is the qualifying has been set at one-shot qualifying.
Wait, so we've got to do the qualifying again?
No. Well, maybe. The thing is, it's been set
Oh,
as
God.
one-shot qualifying, so there's potential that we have to do the qualifying again. So it might be near on midnight by the time we get this finished. Or started, for that fact. It might be midnight by the time we get this one started. So there we go. We'll prepare ourselves for yet another lobby, and we'll prepare ourselves for yet another race. So the interesting facts can disappear this time. We don't need to worry about anything like that. I'll try and get myself in the lobby as quickly as possible, and then I'll be able to invite you into it as well. That was quick. We're back in the lobby and qualifying is off. So it looks like we're going to stick with the qualifying results that we got last time. Hopefully that is going to be the case and we will be ready to go. It is the sunshine in sandy Bahrain that takes us to race 4 of season 11 here in the All Assist Soft League. Fingers crossed it goes off without a hitch. But as we know from EA Games, nothing's quite that simple. As we wait nearly an hour later after an 18-minute qualifying session has started, we are almost ready for lights out. It is AMS Jonesy that sits on pole position for the third time in as many appearances for him. Second place is the current defending champion of BSM Sandman in the Ferrari. Third place is the current championship leader of No Danger David in the Red Bull. Hopefully things will continue into the race just as they ended in qualifying. It's going to be a big one, and Skin, I have already forgot who it is that you went for as your chosen winner. He seems to have disappeared, so hopefully he'll be back just in time for the race to kick off, as we are currently on 18 out of the 22 drivers in the lobby ready to get things underway. There's usually about a minute waiting time once everybody's readied up and we are ready to go, and we'll be able to take you through the 29 laps that Bahrain has to offer to see just what happens with the Haas of AMS Jonesy's return back to the grid. I'll just have a look quickly at the standings at the moment, both the driver and the constructor standings. As at the moment, top is Danger David, AMS Jonesy sits in second place, and VSM Sandman sits in third place. It is the Red Bull of D Perez that sits in fourth place, behind ahead of Toxic, in fifth place in the Alfa Romeo. So 282.5 points is for the leader of Danger David. 43.5 points separates him from AMS Jonesy. 73.5 separates him from Sandman. So a big race, and we could be looking at a very different leaderboard come the end of this race. Looking at the Constructors' Championship as well, it is currently top step for Red Bull. Second place is Haas, 147.5 points behind them, and then Ferrari in third place, 209.5 points behind Haas. A bit further behind there is Aston Martin. They're not too far behind the Ferraris as well. They've been performing well as a team. And Mercedes also within a shout of getting up into third place. So we could be looking at third place here belonging to Red Bull, Haas, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Mercedes or Alfa Romeo, or even at a push, AlphaTauri, depending on how these results go this afternoon. Next week, we do have Singapore. It is a night race. It is a full qualifying session that we've got for you next Monday evening, the only full qualifying session of the season to look forward to. We've so far had Las Vegas, where from pole position, AMS Jonesy took the win. The same happened in Qatar. In Miami, it was a very different story as D. Perez finished in first place in the Red Bull, followed by teammate Danger David. And now, of course, it is round 4, 24th of July in Bahrain. We take a week's break after the race in Singapore. Next Monday, before the return in Canada, where Skin will be taking you through that one on his own. And then, of course, the Portuguese Grand Prix before the final race in France, which has a sprint race. Skin, are you back? He's not. He's probably going to see just how long I can go on
I'm
for
here,
before
mate. I'm here,
he's
mate.
here.
I was on mute. I've been here all this time. I never went anywhere. But I just had mute on, and I didn't realise I was sat talking to you then. It just turned out I was sat talking to myself, so no change there.
So I've just received word from AMS Johnsy because of the post-race interviews, which I know you cannot wait to conduct today. I'm going to let you take those, seeing as I've done it for the season so far. I think I'll let you have a little bit of a free reign with it. I will tell you that if AMS Johnsy finishes on any of the top 3 steps of the podium, he will be sending me a voice message to send out, as he is not on PlayStation, which means he does not have the ability to join the PS chat, and therefore we won't be able to get his reaction. So he's going to send it manually, and I'll play it out for you on the video anyway. So you'll be able to hear from him. It just won't be quite the Q&A that you'll get from the other 2 drivers, no doubt.
Yeah, just save whatever it is that he says for the next race.
You think he's going to finish first again? And then again?
Again, I've no reason to think otherwise at the minute. Aggie?
Yes, I am still here. I was just on mute. I've been here the whole time.
There you go. I like it.
We've been there, haven't we? So 20 of the 22 drivers here along with us at the moment. And, of course, the 2 spectators. So we'll have a look at the team. Skid Solo and Ivor representing the Aston Martin. Danger David and D. Perez representing the Red Bull. Frankie 1811 and Trugster in the Alpha Tauris. The Williams being represented by Kwan and by Formula 1 Farah. The McLaren by Maverick and the No Sabo. Quincy is one of the Mercedes drivers. The other is RS0121. Ferrari of VSM Sandman is joined by Peter Caspi. The Alpine of Racing Wheel 027 is joined, and I believe he should be in the lobby already. He's not in the lobby yet. He's probably the one that we're waiting for. Oh, there he is. Martin Hunt is the other Alpine, just a few steps down from him on the listings. We've then got the Alfa Romeos of Veriduco and Toxic CZ10, and then Sir Ibo and AMS Johnsy in the Haas. So we are just waiting for everybody to ready up. Then we will be good to go here in Bahrain, and we might finish this race before the next race is due to start. So there we go. Just waiting for confirmation on the Discord that we are good to go as well. As I think it's just waiting for people to ready up at the moment. I'm just trying to do the calculations. It is, everybody's in the lobby ready now, isn't it?
Looks like it, mate. Yep.
Okay,
20
so
people are in, so that's it.
You've told me your strategy for if you haven't got the fresh tyres. Is it the same for if you have got the fresh tyres?
Yeah, just go for it.
Nice one. Now we'll end that there then. So in just a few moments' time, hopefully we will be ready to go and good to go.
Let's stick it on mute for a second and be back for the race.
Here we go then, the timer is back on. We're around about 20 seconds away from preparing for the lights out as we are finally setting up to get underway here in Bahrain. It has been a long haul, but we look all set with plenty of drivers repeating the same strategy as the race. I think the suggestion is that they all follow the same strategy, and hopefully nothing silly going into turn one, but we always like something to shout about. Skin, you still with me?
Never left you, mate.
That's always nice to hear. I think everyone's just preparing their setups now, and then we are good to go. So, who do you think needs to have the biggest race today? Is it Danger David who's leading? Is it Sandman who's got that point to prove, or is it Johnsy that's back from a holiday?
I think it's Sandman, purely because, as you look at it now, Johnsy is the favourite for the Drivers' Championship. With Danger David, as much entertainment as he's given us, he's in the best position to win the Constructors alongside D. Perez for Red Bull. So I think Sandman has the most to play for at the minute, because he's not really got a foot in the camp when it comes to the Constructors because of the poor performance from his teammate. So he's got to be pushing for that Drivers' Championship. And with a threat like Johnsy, who's coming in dominated, and a poor result last week as well while he was away, yeah, for me, Sandman's got the most to gain and the most to lose in this race and as we go on throughout the rest of the season.
I think, at Silverstone, they always have them events on before the race. I think when Silverstone comes round on the calendar, you and I need to do a corner of the Silverstone track on all assists off. And I say a corner because we're not going to make it anywhere past that, are we? As we prepare for the lights out here in Bahrain. They are out, and here we go. AMS Johnsy getting a very quick start. VSM Sandman just behind him as well as Danger David tries to go up through the middle. It's going to be Johnsy that keeps first place as Sandman goes out on the outside. I think Danger David just lost himself a position there too. RS0121, who managed to keep the line on the inside and get up into third place, but he's still under pressure from the Red Bull as Danger David goes off, and I think he's gone out into the wall as Johnsy keeps the lead. He has gone into the wall. He's dropped very far down. I think that's going to be a case of he's going to need to go into the pits. It doesn't look like he's going to be out of the race, as I think his teammate has also made a very similar mistake, as Johnsy holds first place, followed by VSM Salmon. RS0121 goes into third place in the Mercedes. Just behind him is Trugster in fifth. Quincy then down in sixth place as Maverick falls down into 19th in the Mercedes, and Danger David tries to get himself up into 16th place. And I'll come to you in just a moment's time to see how Danger David is reacting on the back of that incident. But at the moment we are on board with RS0121, giving us the best view of the front of the pack going into this second sector. Of course, on lap one, there is no DRS, as Johnsy holds out first position just over half a second ahead, just under now, a second ahead of VSM Sandman. RS0121 just a little bit further behind as well. Not too many competitions for places at the front of the grid, as it looks like Danger David is just making his way back up that pack as well in 15th place. D. Perez, his teammate, now in 10th place as well. The Mercedes having the best start for the two teams with third and sixth place, should I say, at the moment, as Johnsy goes round to finish lap number one, and will take the fastest lap at the end of the first lap with a 1:35.0 on the medium tyres. He holds first place. Frankie 1811 moves up into 7th place, then in the Alpha Tauri as well. So it's currently Johnsy from Sandman, then RS0121 in third place in the Mercedes. Skin, we'll come across to you to see just what happened with Danger David.
Just got caught, mate, going into the corner. I don't think he went full pelt into the wall, so it looks like he won't have to pit. But yeah, he just went off into the gravel, and with the grid being as close as it is going into that first couple of corners, he fell right down. But it's typical Danger David, isn't it? How many times have we commentated on this league now, and how many times has Danger David started in a great place after a class performance in qualifying, and within the first 3 or 4 corners he's dropped down the grid due to an incident, and then provided us with great entertainment if he's climbed his way back up. So business as usual for Danger David as it stands, as far as I'm concerned. So
there's only 12
cups that won't go away.
It's all right. He's only 12 seconds, and I say only 12 seconds away from the current leader, Johnsy, because whilst he's on the medium tyres and probably has the pace of a number of those cars in and around him as well, Sandman, RS0121 and Evo, the second and third and fourth place sitting at the moment, all are on hard tyres. So he's got a good chance, if he can make these medium tyres last, if he doesn't have any damage as well, to gain his places back up this grid. We'll go on board with Toxic, as he's now under pressure from Danger David, who we've just spoken about. We've got about a lap left before we start to see DRS being enabled, as we've got quite quite a few of these drivers in and amongst each other as Johnsy sets another quickest lap of 1:32.464 as that gap between him and Sandman is ever growing and is nearly sat at 2 seconds. But Johnsy, of course, on the medium tyres, Sandman on the hard. I think Sandman might have a bit of an advantage when he chucks himself onto those soft tyres later on as Danger David goes up the inside there of Toxic and makes that almost a formality to get himself past the Alfa Romeo driver and up into 13th place. He currently sits half a second behind Quan and he's almost immediately putting pressure onto the Williams driver, and he's not too far away from getting himself back up into very strong points positions, and he's up into 12th place just like that. So in the space of a couple of laps he's made the free fall down into about 17th and he's fought valiantly to get himself back up into 12th, but he knows there's plenty more fighting still left to go. We will drop back to Formula 1 Farah, who has gone off. He spun off on that corner and nearly makes a collision there with the Aston Martin of Skid Solo, and I think he just collided then in the end with the Ferrari. Actually, no, it was the Alfa Romeo of Veriduco. So Maverick's going a little bit slow. Veriduco is, I think it was just the back of Veriduco that Formula 1 Farah caught there on his way round as well. So hopefully nothing too serious damage-wise, but there we go. As we go up towards the Nocebo in 9th place now, we ride on board with him in the McLaren on his way around the corners. Anything happening with what you're watching at the moment as Veriduco goes past Formula 1 Farah?
No, I'm just sort of looking at the grid. There's nobody that's sort of right behind someone. I'm keeping track of Danger David's progress back up the grid. I'm on board with Quan in 12th, who's just behind Danger David, just so I've got a better view of Danger David's progress. But yeah, I've been on board for the last lap or so with Danger David as he makes that move up. D. Perez has just moved up into 7th, overtaking Quincy as they move into the first corner. A little bit of a bunch there, so I'll just jump on board with the Nocebo in 9th for a moment. But yeah, Danger David is now less than a second behind Martin Hunt in 10th as he looks to get back into what would be points in a real life F1 race. But John Z 2.5 seconds, it's now 2.6 seconds ahead of Sandman already. RS in third, 5 seconds behind Sandman in third. So that front two is started to scamper ahead already. The big sort of story of this race now, I suppose, is can Danger David get back up onto the podium in which he started the race, ready to take that spot. But yeah, other than that, quite a few races sort of around half a second behind the driver in front, but it seems pretty comfortable as it stands. But John Z dominating yet again, 2.5 seconds ahead after only 3 and a bit laps. What do you think?
Well, it's like you said, isn't it? He's just at a different level sometimes, and when his mind's focused, he's on his way. But him and Sandman at the moment are just taking this league by the scruff of its neck and making it a two-man race, really, aren't they? I mean, Danger David's fallen down to 11th place. He's currently the championship leader, and you can never count him out. But at the moment, it just looks like those two are cut above as Ivor moves up into 3rd place. Got a nice little view of him taking the outside line there to get past RS0121, who has also fallen to Truckster as 3 cars go into this corner. And it looks like it's going to be Truckster that comes out on top in 3rd place, and he has done. Excellent overtaking there to get himself onto the podium. But we go into the first DRS zone even of the new lap, and it is going to stay DRS with Truckster. I heard this spoken about at the weekend in Hungary, and I don't agree. I actually agree with Martin Brundle's comments. I don't agree that Truckster should have had DRS there. He'd already got the position, so why should he be allowed DRS to gain himself a little bit further from the Aston Martin that he'd just overtaken? But RS0121, in the space of a corner, had dropped from 3rd down to 5th. He goes now just on... from 3rd down to 5th. He was battling a little bit with Ivor then for just a moment, but 3rd place sits now with the AlphaTauri of Truckster, who we did speak about before the race, has a very strong chance, if it's a good finish for both him and Frankie 1811, to put these AlphaTauris in 3rd place in the championship. There's still a lot to be fighting for as Frankie now moves up into 5th place ahead of RS0121, who seems to be stuck in reverse at the moment. In the space of one lap, he's fallen from 3rd down to 6th place, and that's not good for the Mercedes, who had a fantastic start to get ahead of Danger David and up into 3rd place. But 6.5 seconds separates Truckster from VSM Sandman as it stands at the moment. I've just stayed on board with Evo, but I think I'm going to move a little bit further down at the moment to RS0121, who is in a bit of a battle with with Frankie 1811. He's got just behind him D. Perez, and we now start to see a gap form between 4th place and the rest of the pack at the moment. So you've got the first two scampering off into the distance, like you say, and RS0121, with the assistance of DRS, manages to get himself ahead of Frankie 1811, who this time has lost another position, but he's been battling there with D. Perez, who I think is going to make 6th place his own. He has done so on the medium tyres, but there's another DRS zone here. If D. Perez can get past RS0121, he's gone onto the inside. He's going to have the inside line going into the corner. Fantastic overtaking from D. Perez. If he can keep it, RS0121 even defending very nicely to keep the position, but it isn't over yet. We come back round into a couple more corners before we do have the second DRS zone of this lap, and it's going to be another battle between those two cars. In fact, you could probably add Frankie 1811 and the No Sabo onto that now, as the McLaren has decided to join the little battle, as it's going to be a DRS assisted train all the way down the straight that Sector 2 has to offer us, and it's going to be led by RS0121, who is in 5th place at the moment. And it's going to be the only one that doesn't have DRS, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens here as D. Perez goes onto the inside line, but the straight is just not long enough for him, and it's going to be still with RS0121, who the Mercedes has a lot of defending to do, as Danger David has made his way up now into 10th place. His teammate is in 6th, battling for this 5th place spot at the moment. If he can get past him as well, I think the pace that this Red Bull is offering D. Perez at the moment, I'd fancy him to maybe make an effort in the next couple of laps onto where Ivor sat in 4th place, but it just looks like RS0121 is gaining that bit of an advantage as we come into yet another DRS. It's the pit straight DRS that D. Perez is going to have. He opens that wing almost immediately in 10 extra miles per hour onto the inside line. It's going to be a massive defending job for RS0121. If he can keep that position, as D. Perez on the outside manages to take the corner. 0121 with an excellent defensive strategy again, keeps that as Perez this time onto the outside line. I think he's going to have DRS on this straight as well. He is, and I think that's just going to be the difference there. No, it isn't. It's with RS0121, who takes the inside line and takes that position back. Excellent racing from Perez and RS0121 there on that last couple of laps as well.
Moves, just moved up 2 spots. Sorry, I'm just at the back of that train, and it's really getting clustered now. There's collision, there's contact between Quincy and Frankie. 1-8, and Frankie is out, as well as Martin Hunt. Oh, that will go down in the incident report, I am sure, as a virtual safety car comes out. I was on board there as it happened. A bit of contact between Quincy and Frankie. Frankie spun in the middle of the track and has ended up out. Virtual safety car as we approach the second third of the race, which is now a full safety car. Danger David has pitted down in 17th. Could that play into his favour? Now he has pitted before everyone else and the safety car has come out.
My boy Maverick's got a pit here on softs. Get himself on hard tyres and see it through. I probably shouldn't be telling him my idea of a strategy because, I mean, to be fair, it's the only part of this game that I can actually do as well.
Yeah, it is, mate. You're right. I was about to defend you, but you got there, so.
But on the soft tyres, I think he's in a great position to pit and take that advantage. But we're going to see Johnsy and Sandman pit first of all. They're going to start the pit train, if you will. What tyres are they going to go for at this point? One on medium, one on hard. It is going to be Johnsy first to come out, and he's going to be on the hard tyres. VSM Sandman is going to come out on the medium tyres. So I think it is just a straight swap, isn't it? Sandman going from hard to medium, Johnsy going from medium to hard. So maybe those quicker tyres could work in a bit of a favour for Sandman. But Johnsy has come out at the front of the grid. Sandman has come out behind the two Mercedes of RS0121 and Quincy, as a lot of drivers are pitting at the moment. Is that maybe a missed opportunity now for the two Mercedes?
Maybe so. They were in a really good position in qualifying, but yeah, Quincy having that incident. Don't know if he took any damage. I'm going to guess not, with him not pitting. I do wonder if an incident report could cost them even further.
Well, we're on full safety car at the moment, and it is Johnsy currently out in first place. We'll just move on to the pits so everybody is aware of who has pitted and who has not. We've got Peter Caspi in 6th place in the Ferrari. Cerebro down in 18th, who has just gone into the pits himself. RS0121 and Quincy, the 4 drivers that have not yet boxed. So looking at the tyres, everyone is on either a medium or a hard selection. Maverick has gone onto the hard tyres. I doubt it's anything to do with me, but I'm glad I'm on the same wavelength as the two McLarens jumping onto hard tyres. So it makes me feel a little bit better about it, the fact that they're down in 11th and 15th place. But I'm confident they can get us a good points finish. What is the thoughts on Danger David up in 8th place at the moment? He has made a phenomenal turnaround there.
Absolutely, and I'm sure if anyone's going to be raring to go once this safety car comes in, it's going to be him. So yeah, he's in a great position as it stands.
I'm just checking. We say he's in a great position. He's actually boxed from mediums to mediums. So he's going to need another pit stop at some point. So it's an interesting strategy to go for from 8th place at the moment. As we are on a safety car. I don't think we actually had a safety car last week, which was nice to see. It's almost like the safety car is following you about, which is very much like we get to see when you're actually racing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Can't even argue that one.
Absolutely not. Well, we'll see now if any of the Mercedes are going to go into the pits. It doesn't look like they are. I'm just trying to see down the pit straight at the moment. There seems to be some fog that's clouding up my vision, but at the moment it is both RS0121 and Quincy staying out there on hard tyres. Maybe they don't think that the medium tyres are going to last the full 20 laps that they've still got left to go, which makes it a bit interesting to see where Sandman and Evil have gone for there, but I don't know. I mean, they're the quicker tyre. Maybe Sandman, if he shows the pace that he had through a lot of that qualifying session, he could maybe keep that gap very close between him and Johnsy. And, you know, it normally takes only a lap after a safety car, isn't it, for DRS to be re-enabled. And we might get some very interesting racing at the front of the pack. But I want to give a shout out to that racing that I got to see between RS0121 and D Perez. I think I gave RS 0121 like every combination of those four numbers that he had whilst I was trying to get through that little section there between him and D Perez. So some excellent racing from the two of them, as Martin Hunt with his DNF has left the session. So it'd be interesting to see just what happens. Who do you lie the fault with there on that collision then? Because I didn't get to see it.
It's hard to say. It was just going into a slight left turn. It wasn't a sharp left turn or anything like that. It's hard to say. It could just be a racing incident. Again, it's always hard to really confirm in the heat of the moment without going back and looking at it. But yeah, there was definitely contact, and Frankie ended up spinning and then being out of the race, and then Martin Hunt crashed into him, took himself out as well. So yeah, without looking back at it, it would be hard to say, but yeah, there was definitely contact. It's just a case of, did Frankie not turn when they should have done, or did Quincy turn too early? But again, no doubt it will get put into the instant report chat, and a decision will be made on it. But safety car is coming in. So I'm going to get on board with Danger David, because I've no doubt that he's going to look like raring to go to climb up the track. John Z, you would imagine quite frustrated after building that solid lead. What do you think will happen now with that? A very strong top 8. Anything can happen at this point with loads of the race still to go.
There we go. So the safety car is heading in now, and it will be the pace setter of AMS Johnsy to get things back underway. And he is doing down onto the pit straight. We are racing again. It's a Mercedes 2-3 from RS0121 and Quincy as we go up into the first corner, as it still sits the lead with AMS Johnsy, and it looks like Sandman's got past Quincy straight away, and there's a bit of a battle there going on between them, and Trugster also manages to get involved in that as Toxic takes a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, and Sandman has pushed himself up into second place, where there is already a 2-second lead between him and AMS Johnsy, just from the sake of a couple of corners. So we'll see if the Ferrari can close the gap on the quicker tyres. As Danger David moves up into 6th place, there is quite a lot of action going on amongst these cars at the moment, as we ride on board with Toxic just behind Danger David at the moment. Has gone wide is RS0121, who is falling down the pack significantly quickly, and Skid Solo is now out of the race as we've got a yellow flag. I don't know just what's happened there. I'll see if Skin, you managed to see that in just a moment's time as we continue on with the pit straight. No DRS, and that is because the safety car's back out to join us. So did you see what happened with Skid Solo?
I didn't, unfortunately, mate, but yeah, another safety car. Are we in for one of those races where it's stop-start like what we've had in the past? We can only wait and see, but yeah, if you're Johnsy, who knows you can build those gaps, you've got to be getting frustrated. But again, played into Danger David's hands now, up to 5th place. I said it earlier, didn't I? It seems to be the blueprint of a race in which Danger David is involved. But quality performance, I do want to say, from Trugster and Quincy in 3rd and 4th at the moment. We naturally, with the performances that we've seen so far, we do spend a lot of our time talking about Johnsy, Sandman and Danger David, but huge credit to Trugster and Quincy. And I think with this game especially, not to discredit or give Quincy any disrespect, but he did seem like a bit of a middle of the grid driver on the previous game in the one or two races that we saw, but he's really, really stepped up in these last couple of weeks. So I don't know if it's just the dynamics of this game, the different handling, playing into his strengths. But yeah, fantastic performances from both of them so far.
There we go then. So, full safety car again, and it is going to be Johnsy that's the pace setter, but this time around it is going to be Sandman that is just behind him as RS0121 is out of the race as well. D. Perez down in 16th place, goes on to the soft tyres. So does the Alfa Romeo of Veriduco. So at the back of the grid, we've got two guys on soft tyres, and it looks like the Mercedes have boxed, or at least Quincy has. I assume that means we would have seen RS0121. Yeah, we did see RS0121 pit as well, but it's showing that he's out of the race, despite the fact I've got it down the bottom on the track monitor that he's on his way out of the pit. So did somebody not tell him they're retiring his car? Maybe I'm not quite sure what's going on with that one. But EA will do EA things.
Good performance.
I think it's been a fantastic performance from Mercedes. I think we've seen some excellent racing in between, of course, the safety cars when the safety car went away. But Danger David up into 4th place on them medium tyres. Sandman in 2nd place on them medium tyres. It's the mental approach that Danger David takes, and I'd like you to ask him a question about this if he finishes on the podium, because it's incredible how every single race he seems to fall down the pecking order after a fantastic qualifying, but his mentality remains there, and he always comes back with a very strong finish. I don't know if that's just there's an expectation that at some point there's going to be a safety car, because there usually is, or what it is, or whether it is genuinely the ability that he's got in that Red Bull.
Maybe he's used to it. Every race we've seen, I said it earlier, every race we've seen him drop down the track. So maybe he's just used to, it's not like we've not seen like a Johnsy have an incident and drop down towards the back of the grid and have to see him fight back. I said it earlier towards the start of the race. Pretty much every race that we've commentated on, Danger David has had a very early incident and had to race his way back up. So, he's had a lot of practice at it, and he's got strengthened by it, because again, we haven't seen that from a Johnsy yet. How will he react if he has an incident and ends up dropping down into sort of the bottom 2 or 3? We don't know. Whereas we see it a lot with Danger David. So full credit to him. Doesn't let his face drop, doesn't let his standards drop, just carries on, cracks on and climbs back up. But yeah, we've seen it plenty of times now.
There we go. I just need a bit of advice from him for it to tell anybody who's never got the part in the film that they ever auditioned for. There we go. As Veriduco seems to have overtaken Peter Caspi, interestingly enough, during a safety car. I think that might be against the rules ever so slightly, but I suppose if Max Verstappen can win a championship doing that, the sky's your limit. Have a way at it, Veriduco. Do what you need to do. So it is AMS Johnsy in 1st place, VSM Sandman 2nd, Trugster in 3rd place, Danger David in 4th, Toxic in 5th, Quan in 6th, Evor in 7th, Maverick in 8th, and the No Sabo in 9th. And didn't I tell you at some point that the two McLarens would get themselves up into the points? Let's hope that sticks. Formula 1 Farah in the Williams. I hope we're allowed to be biased, by the way. I know we're normally commentators, it's like, you can't be biased, but I think it's pretty clear you're a Red Bull fan and I'm a McLaren fan, so we're going to back our boys during these races.
Yeah, you got to have a soft spot, haven't you?
Absolutely. Formula 1 Farah in the Williams in 10th, Racing Wheel in 11th, Cerebo in 12th, Quincy in 13th, Veriduco in 14th, Peter Caspi in 15th, and then D. Perez down in 16th place. So we're just waiting to see if the safety car goes in on this lap. I assume it's going to be out for just one more lap, as there is a penalty on there at the moment for Toxic CZ10, and no sooner have I said that the safety car is going to be out for an extra lap, has the decision been made that the safety car is going to make its way in. So I'm going to ride on board just for the start of this with VSM Sandman, because he's currently less than half a second behind Johnsy. He's going to be piling the pressure on. Johnsy is going to be the pace setter as we take that final corner onto the pit straight, and it is going to be a very interesting approach with the quicker tyres in favour of currently the second place driver. So we are back underway onto the pit straight for the second time of a safety car going in. Johnsy holds the lead and he's already a second ahead of VSM Sandman coming up into that first corner, but VSM Sandman to slam on the brakes and take that corner very nicely to try and keep that pressure on with Johnsy, who's just over a second ahead. We've got around a lap left until we find out if the safety car is going to be not the safety car, if the DRS is going to be enabled, as Sandman is closing that gap very nicely. We have seen a big fall though from the No Sabo, who's dropped down into 15th place, and Peter Caspi has been handled a penalty for, I believe, corner cutting and multiple warnings of it as Sandman continues this pressure and under DRS. It could be a game changer for the Ferrari driver. It's interesting to see the two different strategies. 16 laps left of the race if those medium tyres can last the distance. Danger David still in 4th place just behind Trugster at the moment as D. Perez moves himself up into 12th place on those soft tyres. The soft tyres proving to be the game changer for him and Veriduco. Have made multiple places since this race got back underway. Racing Wheel jumping past Quincy and Evo jumping past Quana. The last two overtakes tell you about. And we are now, Sandman, putting the pressure onto AMS Johnsy at the front of the grid. I feel like I'm being a little bit biased looking at the front of the grid, but it is very close at the moment that it's worth keeping an eye on. The closest we've got at the moment is Racing Wheel and Quincy fighting down for 10th place. So we'll jump on board with them. With DRS not enabled at the moment, we can see just how close it is going to get as D. Perez is now up into 11th place and Veriduco joins him in the overtake of Sir Ivo, who's now lost his position to Peter Caspi, as well as this time Racing Wheel is going to have to defend.
Sandman going into the first corner. Johnsy has moved over to have the inside line, but Sandman, fantastic defending by Johnsy. Again, with how much he's dominated, not had too much, but Sandman again trying to make an attempt to overtake. It's brilliant defending from Johnsy. Does have to be careful of how many times he moves over, but thought Sandman had him there for just a moment, but Johnsy had the inside line. And
I thought they touched.
Johnsy will need to be careful on how often he moves from one side of the track to the other. F1 rules do say you pick your side and you stay with it. Did seem like a couple of times where Johnsy moved and then maybe thought about moving back, which if that happened on a real life track, there would be some conversations in the paddocks. But I mean, again, we've said Johnsy's dominated. We're not had to see him overtake much, and to be honest, we've not had to see him defend too much either, outside of maybe the first corner or two. But fantastic driving there. Sandman did manage to get his front wing in front for a couple of metres maybe before Johnsy made sure he had the right line to get back in front. But yeah, great driver. Sorry to interrupt you, Adam, but it's not too often so far in this game where we've had a tussle for front spots. So I thought I'd better take advantage while it's there. But Sandman still only 2 tenths behind going into the main straight. So I'll let you take us into lap 15.
Yeah, so he's got the DRS open again, and he's going to just see which way Johnsy's going to try and defend this time, as he's tried to follow him through, actually, and I'm not quite sure just how it's going to work. He's gone to the outside to take the first corner. No DRS actually used at that point. I don't think it's been enabled, has it? Yeah, due to the safety car. So he's not quite had that advantage, which means he's got to try and keep himself as close as he can to AMS Johnsy before that DRS advantage does become part favourable to him. And he's just a little bit further off from what he was a lap ago, and I think on the next lap is where DRS will be enabled, and we'll get to see Sandman really have an attack on AMS Johnsy. He's got the faster tyres. Both of them have had these for the same amount of time, and if Sandman can make these last to the end of the race, I think he's got to be favourite to take top step of the podium here, and what a result that's going to be if he can do it against his nearest and dearest in AMS Johnsy. In third place currently still sits with Trugster, 3.5 seconds behind Sandman as it stands. Further behind that is 1.3 seconds where Danger David sits, as he's starting to close the gap in the Red Bull, as DRS is now opened by VSM Sandman on that pit straight, onto the end of it, not the pit straight, sorry, onto the long straight at the middle of sector 2. Not quite long enough, though, to allow him to get first place back off AMS Johnsy, and he's going to get another attempt of it on this straight just without the assistance of DRS. His battery power is actually quite strong as well, so he's in a very good position for this, as I'm supposed to be on board with VSM Sandman, but for some reason the camera's showing me the chicane. Here we go then, the final corner heading on to...
That's what it's used to showing you, to be fair, mate, so taking some adjustment to think, 15 laps in and you're still in the race? Oh my God.
I know, it's surprised that I'm still in the server as well, so he's going on to the inside maybe here.
Sandman's going, DRS, here we go!
inside line onto the first corner. He's got the lead over Johnsy. Johnsy's trying to defend. VSM Sandman keeps the inside line. Takes the position from AMS Johnsy, but he's going to continue into the second corner. Into the DRS zone. It's going to stay with Sandman. He's going to have the position and DRS to go into the third corner, and it leaves him nearly half a second ahead of AMS Johnsy on the hard tyres. So he's going to continue pushing in first place. That distance is now just under a second between the two drivers as Sandman. Excellent overtaking into turn one. The assistance of DRS proved fatal for AMS Johnsy holding first place. Continues into turn 6 at the moment. I think DRS is going to be with AMS Johnsy, so we have not seen the last of the battle between these two here in Bahrain this evening. Goes into one of the most difficult corners to take, but takes it very nicely, as does AMS Johnsy on to the second DRS zone then on the lap, and it is open from AMS Johnsy. But again, the straight just not quite long enough to manage to get him back into the top step of the podium. It still sits with the Ferrari of VSM Sandman, who now has just over half a second lead. And we get to see a different race leader for the first time this race. Johnsy had led it from the very start of the race, and maybe starting on the hard tyres with those two safety cars has done Sandman a huge favour out here in first place at the moment. So we get to see again almost an entire lap of Sandman in the lead, and it's going to be Johnsy this time to open up DRS on those hard tyres, see if he can take the inside line perhaps. No, he's going to stay on the outside, and that's where Sandman's going to defend it very nicely. There was no DRS open from Johnsy, so I'm quite surprised by that. I thought he was well within the DRS zone, and he's going to open it up into these corners, heading into the third corner just behind Sandman as well. He didn't open the DRS. Was that just me that noticed that he didn't open it?
Hopefully just a visual glitch, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, into the he did have the detection zone. He had that under a second, didn't he? So he was able to do something there. So we've got plenty of penalties going around now on the multiple warnings, as we do stay on board at the moment with... we'll move on to AMS Johnsy as he's in second place, so it might see a nice little overtake as D. Perez has moved himself up into ninth place. Danger David now less than a second behind Trugster. So as it stands at the moment, we've got Johnsy in second place. Opens up DRS again. Just not quite enough to get past Sandman. It almost seems redundant, that little DRS zone, doesn't it, in Sector 2 at the moment. It's certainly sitting in favour of whoever's ahead, but it has closed the gap to 3/10 now as we go on to the longest straight I've seen that doesn't include the DRS zone. So we're going to get the detection zone just at the final points of it, and we might get another opportunity here to see Johnsy attack VSM Sandman. And I think Sandman's going to try and get himself... He's going to need to get himself much further ahead because he's still got 12 laps to try and keep these medium tyres going for. And it is going to be DRS enabled for AMS Johnsy. And he's going to just be sat behind VSM Sandman. He's going to take the inside line going into turn one. The repeat of what Sandman did. He's not just going to have enough time, though. 2/10 as he heads into turn one. Still behind his nearest competitor. Still gets DRS heading into the first DRS zone of the lap. Again, sat just behind Sandman. Not quite close enough, I don't think he feels, to be able to move on to the inside there. I think with the hard tyres, he's just going to try keeping Sandman under that pressure until Sandman feels that he needs to pit maybe and go for fresher tyres. But nearly a 6-second distance between the Ferrari of Sandman and the Haas of Johnsy. It is very much a two-horse race. And Danger David, who's down in fourth place, isn't quite using his medium tyres to the same benefit of what Sandman is. In the Ferrari, I guess. He's just behind Trugster at the moment as we ride on board with Danger David. Just behind him is the Aston Martin of Evor. We are heading into a bit of a straight with DRS, so we'll get to see just what Danger David can do here. Evor's also going to have DRS as well. It has been enabled by Danger David. Going to see if he can get the pass on Trugster. He started in third place in this race as well. So he'll be open for, at the very least, a third place finish. But the longer that he's been kept behind Trugster, the tougher it's going to be for him to be able to close the gap on those front two whilst they're battling each other. There's a chance here for these other drivers to maybe close that gap a little bit further as his teammates down in 14th place at the moment of D. Perez, who's maybe taking a little bit of a fall after such a good climb after the second safety car went back into the pits. And Danger David and into the final corner and onto the pit straight. He just had the inside line. He's going to go even further onto the inside line now. Opens up DRS alongside Truckster. They're going to be racing with Ivor again involved as well. Heading towards turn one. We're going to see just what Danger David can do here. Holding position into third. Ivor takes third place away from him, and it's going to be onto the inside line for Danger David. Heading into turn two. It's going to be the inside line now in advantage of Ivor, but Danger David holds position in third. We're going to see who gets DRS. It is going to be Danger David and Truckster, who manages to move up into fourth place. Excellent racing from all three drivers, and I think Danger David is going to be the one that comes out of it in third place. He is. Truckster takes fourth, and Ivor in fifth place in the Aston Martin at the moment. So, more racing from the three of them, and now Danger David will have his sights set on AMS Johnsy, who is just over 6 seconds ahead of him. But with those two battling, it always takes a bit of speed away from the front runners, and it allows Danger David that opportunity on these medium tyres that's a lap older than those of VSM Sandman to try and close that gap a little bit further. But we now have a new leader and a new third place skin.
Yeah, but I've been on board with Johnsy while you've been commentating on that battle for the final podium spot, and still very close between them. But yeah, Johnsy there's not really been an attempt. Pit straight a couple of times, looked like it might get close, but never really in a position where he can take a dive, and has had to back off going into the first corner. Currently at less than 4/10 behind, will have DRS again going into the pit straight, and with the distance, this will probably be, since we last came to this battle, the best chance it will have to get into that first corner ahead of him. But again, Sandman, phenomenal driving at the moment.
Yeah, well, we're still on board here with Danger David, who is under pressure from Truckster and Ivor heading into turn one. Both of those do have DRS on him, but I don't think they're going to quite manage it on this turn. I think Truckster's going to try just to go up the inside of him. He's going to do it the side by side, and I think Truckster might just have had the lead for a little second there. He's going to have DRS heading into the next section as well. He's also under pressure from Ivor in fifth place, so it's very close between the three of them, as we do have, I believe, Veriduco on yellow flags. As inside the line goes Ivor to take fourth place away from Truckster, but he's got a bit of defending to do as Truckster fights back to keep fourth place his own. And this is allowing Danger David to push on ever so slightly, but the gap there is now 7.5 seconds between Danger David and AMS Johnsy, so it is only a two-horse race, I dare say, for the majority of this race. The final 9 laps here in Bahrain, it's taken ages to get things underway, but what a race it has been so far. Separated by the 2 safety cars, we have had plenty of overtaking, including that from the current championship leader of Nay Danger David. As Truckster opens up DRS in Sector 2, it's not going to be enough to really put too much pressure on the Red Bull driver in third place at the moment, as I believe, is it D. Perez that's gone off in Sector 2? It is. So as Danger David set up in third place at the moment, D. Perez took a bit of a spin on those soft tyres and moved out into 14th place. He's still got a good 30-second lead ahead of Cerebo in 15th place, and Nosebo down in 16th. I think they both pitted since the safety car headed back in. But D. Perez now, after such a great climb to get himself back up into those points, falls back down to 14th place. And I think the saving grace there for Red Bull is the fact that Ferrari are only in 1st and 11th. So D. Perez could maybe still gain something on those soft tyres if he can make these last till the end. But I suspect after going off the track ever so slightly, they've taken a bit of damage, probably got a bit of grain on them as well, a bit of sand to affect the grip, and he might need to just box for the final eight laps of this race, and that might be their chances of really extending their lead of the Ferraris gone. I think they will still do so, though, over the Haas, because Perez is in 14th place and Cerebo some distance behind in 16th. So we'll see just what happens there as D. Perez comes onto the pit straight. And I'm right, he is going to go into the pits. I'll let you know in just a moment what tyres he chooses to come out on.
Right. D. Perez has retired from the race.
Retired from the race, wow, okay. As the safety car's out. Oh. Surely not. D. Perez has actually gone into the pits to retire from the race.
And they've still brought the safety car out. Yeah,
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But Maverick stopped on track there. He's very slowed down. So I think it's just, one of those, you need to slow down the speed in which you're going because it's over the limit of what you can do. You can't be setting over a certain percentage, can you, of your fastest lap during a safety car. So do you pit now? If you're Sandman, if you're Johnsy, is this it? You pit for soft, surely?
I suppose with Johnsy, he is on hard tyres. So will they see him out? Sandman looks like going to pit. They're both pitting. Wow, okay. Right.
Surely you box the softs, don't you? What's Danger David going to do? I'm excited. What's he going to do? Is he boxing as well, is he? He is. I think this is going to be everybody boxing looking at it. Yeah, so no real advantage lost for Johnsy and Sandman, who both come out on soft tyres. Sandman
I
holds
think the
first
only,
position.
I think the only sort of frustration for Sandman will be that he was starting to build a bit of a gap. The laps were sort of copy and paste for the 3 or 4 laps there, but Sandman was comfortable. No, don't get me wrong, he wasn't flying ahead, but he was comfortable. So, shows some frustration there that they'll now go into what, let's say, safety car stays out for 2 laps. You're looking at about 5 laps or so, where it's going to be a straight shootout. So, yeah, got to be some frustration from him after all that work that he'd done to get back in first place.
Absolutely. So the safety car is out at the moment. I just want to say shout out to F1 Probo, who's been listening. Hope you're enjoying the race as much as we are. Great
Let's go,
commentary, very
Probo!
good job. So he's very happy with the commentary job we're doing at the moment, and that's great considering this is the third safety car in a 29-lap race. But I think that's actually worked out as a detriment to Danger David. He might have been close to Johnsy and Sandman and been able to, as normally a third car in a 2-car race is always nice to look at, isn't it? Because when you're watching Danger David just behind Johnsy and Sandman, those two are battling. You're never looking at the third car. You're always looking at the one car behind you. Or if you're second place, you're looking at the car ahead, aren't you? So we could have maybe seen something there. But Kwan staying out on those hard tyres sits him nicely in third place, separating the rest. Truck's just boxed for hard tyres, which is interesting enough. So he's in 5th place on those hard tyres at the moment. Fresh hard tyres as well. So we've just got Peter Caspi, who's in 7th place on hard tyres. Kwan on hard tyres as well in 3rd place. Quite surprised to hear about this safety car being out. I'm not sure how I feel about it just at the moment. I think, D. Perez has gone into the pits and he's retired. I don't understand why you need a safety car. It really doesn't make sense to me.
Is it a glitch or is it like something's happened there? Because there didn't seem to be an incident actually on the track that would have impacted the drivers racing. So yeah, something's happened there.
I think the glitch might have cost Sandman this race.
Well, we'll soon find out. Safety car's going to be out for at least another lap, maybe 2. And then, it's going to be a straight shootout going into the final 5 or 6 laps. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's interesting. That he's obviously boxed for soft tyres, and I think that's the smart choice behind it. As Racing Wheel, I think he's boxed now as well. So the Alpine's dropped into the pits, and I think he's going to move maybe onto soft tyres as well. He's 15-lap-old medium tyres. And yeah, I think I can see the red stripes there to be coming out on soft tyres. He is, yeah. So in 13th place, he's going to rejoin us. On soft tyres. I guess it's soft tyres almost across the board. So Kwan and Peter Caspi going against the grain here, against the status quo, if you will. So it's business as usual as the front, with VSM Sandman and AMS Johnsy setting things off. But this time, it will be Sandman that is the pace setter. And we'll still have a couple of laps before we get to see just what happens with DRS. So, you said before the race you thought it was going to be, typical Johnsy's going to win this. Do you stand by that? Has your opinion changed before we get things back underway from this safety car?
I don't know. I think Sandman must have had the stream on, heard the comments, and took some umbrage with that, and has clearly performed phenomenally well, because at one point Johnsy was pretty comfortable and looked like it was going to be another one of those wins, and he's fought fantastically to get back up the grid. So yeah, brilliant from Sandman, reminding us this evening so far why he is the driver that's won the last 3 championships, and a reminder to Johnsy that, look mate, you're not going to come and join this league and just take over. I'm going to fight for what's been mine for the last few months. So yeah, fantastic driving from both of them, some great defending. And to be honest, with the safety car coming in, I'm going to stick on board with Johnsy. I'll let you decide where you go, but if you're going up and down the track, I'll keep the camera on this battle at the front for people that want to.
Toxic's just left the session, and Quincy has a time penalty for a severe collision with Toxic. So I'm not quite sure just what's happened there. I've just joined on board and I've missed everything that's happened, which is always good to know. So Toxic in 9th place.
We don't have the benefit of cameras all the way around and being able to jump on stuff and 50 screens set up, mate, like the professionals do. We're dealing with what we've got, and we're doing a good job with it, mate. So we can't get everything, unfortunately. But AMS Johnsy in no position to be making a lunge into the first corner. Sandman, being the person in first, has the advantage of setting the pace and going when he's ready to go, which it can be quite hard to guess from a driver behind when that might be. So you do often find that the person in first does jump in to a pretty comfortable lead coming out of a safety car. But Danger David has moved up into third place. And I'll let you talk us through what's happening on the rest of the grid, because at the moment, Johnsy, very similar to the 3 or 4 laps before that safety car, is not close enough to be overtaken at this time.
Yeah, I just saw for a moment Quincy get past Peter Caspi to get himself up into 7th place, and I think Formula One Farah has just jumped both Toxic and Maverick on one corner as well. So I'm joining these just at the wrong times, but at the moment he's just behind Peter Caspi, and he goes onto the inside line and takes him as almost as if he's not there. So that's another position with Formula One Farah and the Williams up into 8th place, but Peter Caspi on those 13 lap old tyres at the moment, and it's really not helping him out, as Formula One Farah is going to have a bit of defending to do here as Peter Caspi goes onto the inside line, which means the outside is there for Formula One Farah, who again managed to keep hold. And I think the grip on those soft tyres has really been the difference between him and Peter Caspi. The Williams currently in 6th and 8th place at the moment. The other Williams, of course, being Kwan on 16 lap old tyres. He's under pressure from Quincy, who goes up in the inside and managed to take him heading into the pit straight as well. He's just behind Evo as well as VSM Salmon. Then AMS Johnsy have set back-to-back fastest laps, and it sits with AMS Johnsy on 1:31.380, almost immediately taking it away from VSM Salmon. I've always wondered how that works on the first lap out of a safety car, how both drivers can set the fastest lap, and it's not that with first place who holds it at the end of that lap. So it's quite interesting to see. But it looks like DRS is due to be enabled maybe in the next lap, as Quincy looked into the inside there, maybe to have a bit of a go at Evo, but he's opted not to do so on this occasion. Him, Evo and Trugs have had some excellent battles so far in this race, but Danger David is now currently closer to AMS Johnsy than he is to Trugster, so it looks like we are getting the same three that started the race on the top three, finishing in the top three, with the exception of VSM Salmon and AMS Johnsy at the moment swapping places as Formula One Farah gets past Kwan with ease. And I think that might have just been the old switcheroo from Williams, deciding to put the faster driver on soft tyres up into 7th place, heading into the next straight. Maybe just allowed him to get DRS on there as well. No, maybe not. But yeah, you don't want to leave him behind for a little bit too long, do you, of course, and lose a little bit of time while the soft tyres are still healthy and ready to go. Final 4 laps of the race, it is Sandman, Johnsy, and then Danger David, your top 3, followed by Trugster, Evo, and Quincy. Make it up the next 3, who are battling valiantly to try and get themselves ever closer to the leader of Red Bull. Interesting that Trugster's out there on fresh, hard tyres, but it seems to be working for him as VSM Sandman sets a 1:31.1, and you said before the race started that this was a race where Sandman really needed to turn around and make his point of being the driver to beat on here. We might be seeing Johnsy not on the top step of the podium for the first time since he joined the All Assist Soft League. We are on race 4, race 5 next weekend in Singapore, with a full qualifying session to follow as well, as Peter Caspi moves himself up into 9th place past the Maverick. He's still under a bit of pressure. Maverick managed to get that position back, but Peter Caspi takes it back from him as well, almost as quickly as he'd lost it. As we go into the DRS zone, I think that is what's going to really help and make the difference here for Maverick. It is, as he goes up on the inside and he takes that position, and it looked like for a moment his McLaren teammate of the No Sabo was going to follow him through. I think it is only a matter of time, though, as them tyres prove very difficult for Peter Caspi to keep the grip on at the moment. Maverick sits up in 9th place as it stands, the No Sabo in 11th, and for a moment there's a battle there between the No Sabo and Toxic, so we could see Peter Caspi fall even further at the moment, and that's the joys of a safety car for you, as Evo now sits 4 seconds, just short of 4 seconds, behind Danger David, who sits 4.5 seconds behind AMS Johnsy, who you might think is now waiting for that DRS opportunity to really throw everything at it. Does it look like it's getting closer and it's going to be a battle to the finish?
No, honestly, like I said a minute ago, just copy and paste. Johnsy is not miles behind, but isn't getting close enough to be able to make an overtake attempt. Same again now, got DRS comfortably, but going into the first corner, again, just not enough. The track, that straight being an extra 50 metres long, he's got a chance of going on that inside line, but Salman very much being saved going into that first corner before being comfortable for the rest of the lap. And like I said, It's copy and paste of the last few laps, other than when the safety car was out, and we're now down to 3 laps left. So Johnsy really needs to make a move now if he wants to win this race in Bahrain.
I'm just looking at Toxic get past Peter Caspi as well, and so too as Racing Wheel, but I think Peter Caspi's got that position back from Racing Wheel, who goes up on the inside, goes off track ever so slightly, manages to rejoin it in time to use his DRS as he manages to get past him, and Peter Caspi at the moment is in free fall, as it looks like Cerebro's going to try on the inside line here to try and take him as well. Everyone pitted for the soft tyres, didn't they, apart from 3 drivers, 2 stayed out, 1 pitted for hard. And he's currently the highest of the drivers on the hard tyres at the moment, up in 5th place as it stands. So not a bad response for him as Peter Caspi goes on to the outside. And there's been a spin there as the Nosebo's facing the wrong way, and it's just him and Toxic that have maybe collided, and both in 14th and 15th place respectively now look to be with a lot of work to do to try and get themselves back up into some sort of points finish. But as that climb was on for them, it seems to have been a bit of an issue between the two of them that's seen them turn, but no penalty given as a result of that. We'll see if that goes to the steward's inquiry at the end of the race. Serbo now given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings of a corner cut, I believe that is. And I'm on board with him at the moment, and I don't think I really saw too much wrong with that corner that he just took, so interesting decision to go for it there. It looked a bit questionable though going onto the inside, but we'll see just what happens from the rest of it. We'll ride on board with Quincy, who is just behind Trugster in the fight for 5th place at the moment. Still some distance away from Danger David up in 3rd. Bit of a distance from Eva as he's starting to push himself
Mate, I've
outside
missed an
of...
overtake. I'm so sorry. I've missed an overtake. I don't know what's happened. I don't know where it's happened, but I've missed an overtake and Johnsy is in the lead.
You had one job.
I did. But this is why we're not on Sky Sports, mate.
Because of you.
Yeah.
I'm joking. It's absolutely fine. So Sandman currently sitting in 2nd place, nearly 2 seconds behind Johnsy. So maybe it was just a case of waiting for that pace of the DRS. So I'm not quite sure just what's happened there, as the Nosebo has retired from the race with almost 2 laps left. We are about to start the final lap, and it looks like it is going to be AMS Johnsy that takes the top step of the podium. He's got a 2-second lead from VSM Sandman. I'd be interested to hear just what happened there as well, as he managed to get that overtake on the Ferrari. I think this might just close that gap from Johnsy onto Danger David. Bear in mind he has raced 1 race less. But Sandman, I think, will feel very disappointed that that second safety car needlessly came out. And some may argue has cost him his race. So we are on the final lap. You wanted me to do it?
Take it away, mate. I fucked it up, so you can have the glory.
So by some miraculous event, AMS Johnsy has taken the lead. It's back to where he was, having started, of course, race 1 in Las Vegas, taking the lead from pole position, takes the win. It happened again the week later in the debut of Qatar. Last weekend he missed out in Miami, but he is back on pole position, and he is back on the top step of the podium. Barring an error on these final couples of laps, the Haas driver are going to finish 1st and 14th as a result of today's race. It does still give a bit of an advantage to the Ferrari, seeing as they are with both drivers finishing, 1 in 11th place, 1 in 2nd place. They can close the gap on the Red Bulls as D. Perez hasn't finished and Danger David is up in 3rd. But Johnsy confidently, coolly, calm and collected takes these corners to bring us round onto the penultimate straight of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Once again, controversy masked. The qualifying session, the formation lap, deemed pointless. As he goes into the final corner, the top step of the podium, once again, belongs to AMS Johnsy and the Haas team. They'll celebrate into the night as VSM Sandman will rue the chances that he missed and wonder just where it went wrong for the Ferrari driver. He takes 2nd place and in typical fashion hits the wall doing so. Danger David will then follow us round into 3rd place, and after a very, very poor start, taking that first corner wide, finishes off in 3rd place. Evo just behind him in 4th place. Trugster takes 5th. Quincy finishes in 6th place. Formula 1 Faro will get over the line with the Williams finishing 7th and 8th place at the moment, with Kwan taking Williams over the line on the 22-lap old hard tyres. Maverick in 9th place for the McLaren. Racing Wheel in the Alpine in 10th place. Peter Caspi in 11th in the Ferrari will get over the line in just a moment's time. There we go. We'll see just what the penalties have to do as Veriduco gets ahead of Peter Caspi due to those penalties and moves up into 11th place. Toxic in 13th will drive around the final corner as the House of Sir Ibo, like his teammate, started the final lap for us. Sir Ibo will finish this race for us in last place. What a race it has been. 3 safety cars managed to take a lot of the attention away from some excellent driving that we got to see across the pack, and the one overtake we probably wanted to see, nobody got to see.
We saw it, mate. I just didn't commentate on it, so don't worry. It is there.
It's there somewhere for people to enjoy. So the top 3 steps of the podium are spoken for. We will, of course, be hearing from Nay Danger David, the voice of the voiceless of VSM Sandman. We haven't yet heard from him, despite him finishing on the podium position on a more than regular basis. Despite finishing on the podium, heard from him. We haven't heard. I've got to speak weirdly to say heard. So we haven't heard from him, despite the fact that he's finished on the podium quite a lot. And it actually got mentioned in the Discord at one point that maybe he doesn't even have a voice. So there we go. We might not even hear from VSM Sandman. In a moment's time, we're going to hear from 3rd place Danger David. We'll have a clip from AMS Johns' thoughts, having finished on the top step of the podium once again. But Skin, it's the moment you have been waiting for. Here is all the attention on you, delivering your first end of the race interview with your Danger David.
I didn't ask for this, but Danger David, 3rd place. What a comeback yet again. Very tough race. I was saying during the race, or towards the start of the race, the blueprint for you seems to be have a strong qualifying, start at the top, have an incident quite early, drop down to the back, and then the rest of the race is you climbing your way back up. But it's happened again, and you've climbed back up yet again. What do you think you need to do differently to give yourself a chance of getting back to winning races? Because at the moment, you're spending a lot of time fighting back from the towards the bottom of the grid. Yep. Johnsy. And some bad luck in there, like you say, just an incident that could happen to anybody at any time. But unfortunately, at the minute, it seems to only be happening to you at the front of that grid. But Johnsy's come in, and we've spoken a lot during the race about how he's come in and dominated, and Sandman's had to step up today and got very, very close to getting a win. But what does that mean for you and your mindset? I know you mentioned about focusing on the constructors, but to have a driver come in and dominate from a singles perspective, what does that do for you and how you approach the races? Yeah, well, it was a great drive yet again, mate, and will only help when the constructors after D. Perez dropped out of the race towards the end. So it'll only benefit you guys from a constructor's perspective that you managed to get up to 3rd place. So congratulations, great race again, and a pleasure watching you as always.
Cheers for that, Danger David. So, we've heard from 3rd place. We will not be hearing from VSM Sandman, but I do have a response from AMS Johnsy, who, despite not leading for the entirety of this race, he started and he finished in 1st place. So, hopefully, Sin, you'll be able to hear this. Tell me if it's not the case, but should be able to hear AMS Johnsy's response now.
Yeah, great race tonight. Enjoyed those battles with Sandman. Great to have trust in people, you know, when racing wheel to wheel, to be able to know that they're going to race hard and fair, and you can trust them not to just wipe you out. I wish there was no safety car, because it was a real race, a real Grand Prix at the start, a race for tyre management and ERS management. But when the safety car came out, the first one, it put Sandman in a difficult position and meant that he had to really stretch those mediums. So I think I definitely would have had the upper hand come the end of the stint. But another safety car came out and equal playing, level peggings, and it was a good race to the end. I think I had enough ERS just to overtake on the last lap and try and defend overtake on the penultimate lap and defend on the final lap. But I think with the dirty air, Sandman had a bit of contact into the back of me. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, it was a great race. Shame we couldn't have had a last lap battle. Can't wait to see what the race behind was, because we're very much in no man's land. But I'm glad someone's there with me.
There you go. So top stuff at the podium. Did you hear that clearly, Skin? Yeah.
I did, mate, yeah.
Good. In that case, then, it worked. He doesn't have access to PS, therefore we'll be getting, hopefully, voice clips from him telling us his response to how the race finishes. But he enjoyed the battle alongside Sandman, as did we. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Skin, I suppose the last thing to ask you before we call it is, who's your driver of the day?
Oh, it's tough. You could say Danger David having to come back yet again from towards the back. You could say Sandman after getting as close to beating Johnsy as he has so far this season. You could say Johnsy having won from a position that we've not seen him in before, which is losing a spot and having to regain it back. So, to be honest, I'm finding it really tough to give it to one individual, but I've got to commit because that's the game, and I will give it to Danger David for yet again pulling out a podium spot after dropping right down towards the back of the grid. Do you agree with that, or have you got someone different in mind?
No, for the first time in about 6 weeks that we've tried this, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say Danger David, in my opinion, deserves driver of the day. It's been a fantastic performance from him. Like you say, dropped off at the very first corner and fought valiantly back to make sure that he got himself back on the podium in general, and that's exactly what he needed to do. We'll find out later in the week just what happens with the standings, and of course next Monday we'll be able to bring you in Singapore the latest standings. So Singapore next week, the night race, and a full qualifying session for us to enjoy, and hopefully no formation lap to worry about. Skin, thanks very much for joining me, and of course we'll be back next week.
Yes, we will.